last time she asked about it, I just told her
Second, I just wanted folks to know that we're going to be doing a raffle in a little bit, so stick around for the next 20 to 30 minutes. We've got some Wegmans gift cards. Hey, we got some Syracuse gear. And we've got some dinosaur barbecue bottles. Alright, so without further ado, this is soon to be on Women's from the NY-24 at St. Balter.
Hey everybody, thank you so much for coming. I'm really excited to be here and to talk to all of you. I appreciate you coming out this evening and joining us, being a part of the campaign, supporting us. And what I'd like to do is tell you a little bit about myself and why I've decided to run for Congress, and a little bit about the campaign that we're running and the things that we're fighting for. and then I'm happy to take any questions that you might have. So a little bit of background on me. I grew up in a family of 4 kids. I was number 3 in line, and my younger brother, Jonathan, has cognitive disabilities. So we grew up together, and what he taught me from a really early age is how important it is to stand up for the underdog and to make sure that every single person in our society has dignity and access. And I learned those things through some really unpleasant experiences, standing by his side as kids in the neighborhood bullied him. But I also learned those things through some extraordinary experiences, most importantly watching my parents, who were incredible advocates for him. And they worked really hard year after year to make sure he had the best opportunities available. They taught me about persistence, they taught me how to fight the good fight and how important it is to never give up. And I think more than any other experiences in my life, those are the things that shaped the person I became. When I graduated from college, I went to work in disability services in the nonprofit sector. I worked with adults with cognitive disabilities. Starting as a teacher, I became a director of education and worked in management. And one of the things I did in that job was travel the country to talk to parents of children and adults with disabilities and tell them about the services that we offered. And I found that everywhere I went, parents were facing the same fear and anxiety about what the future held for their kids. They would say things to me like, our daughter just started high school and things are going really well, but we know she can't go to college, so what happens when she graduates? What comes next? Or our son is in his 40s and he lives with us and we've taken care of him his whole life, but we're getting older, and what happens when we die? Who will take care of him? So I tell them about the services we offered, the people we served, the rich, full lives they were living with jobs and social lives in their own apartments, and they'd walk away from the conversation with renewed hope about what the future held for their kids. And it felt great to be the person to give that peace of mind. But when I reflect back on those conversations, it made me very sad, because I don't think that any parent should have to face that kind of uncertainty for their kids. And what I realized after having this same conversation all over the country is that the problems we were trying to address were not individual problems, they were systemic problems. And if we were really going to address them in meaningful ways, we had to think about them as systemic problems. So I decided to go back to school and study policy. I got into public administration. I found myself at the Maxwell School of Citizenship and Public Affairs in Syracuse. And I teach there now. I teach courses in citizenship and policy and administration and democracy. And I'm sure, as those of you who cheered for Maxwell are, I am incredibly proud to be part of the Maxwell School. We are the only school in the country with the word citizenship in its name, and we take that very seriously. And the thing that gives me inspiration on a daily basis is the Athenian Oath. For those of you who have been to Maxwell, you know it is carved into the wall in the lobby of our building. And the Athenian Oath tells us that as citizens, it is our obligation to transmit the city better and more beautiful than it was transmitted to us. That is the idea that leads me to want to serve in public office. And it's something I thought I would do maybe 10 or 15 years down the line. And then November of 2016 happened. And Donald Trump won that election, and the whole world changed for me. I remember waking up the morning after the election, I call it the morning after, and feeling absolutely furious about what had happened and terrified about what it meant for our future as a country, and particularly for the people that I love the most. And I got involved in an organization. I became a community organizer. That was my way to fight back against what was happening. And this organization not only had the goal of resisting Donald Trump's agenda, but with a particular eye to supporting and protecting the most marginalized in our communities who are at the greatest risk from that agenda. Right? Those are the lessons I carried forth from my brother in childhood. And one of the campaigns I engaged in, I know that some of you here have engaged with us, is trying to push our Congressman, John Katko, to do the right thing. Trying to get him to stand up to Donald Trump and call out what he's doing as wrong. Trying to get him to vote for the policies we know we need. and trying to get him to do the simple thing of holding a public town hall meeting where we, his constituents, can talk to him. And John Katko refuses to do all of those things, no matter how hard we push. So after spending all of my time and energy trying to get him to do those things, I decided it would be a much better use of my energy to stand up and run against the man. And that's why I got in this race. So the things that we are fighting for are the things that people all across the district are asking for. They're the things that we have been asking John Katko to do. They are things that I think exemplify our values as Central New Yorkers and frankly as Americans. Number one on the list is universal health care. It is unacceptable in the United States of America, a country of such abundance, for somebody to have to choose between buying food and buying medicine. There is no reason for that, and we have to make sure that every person in this country has access to quality, affordable care whenever they need it. I think the way we get to universal health care is through a single payer system because it is the smart economic approach. We have small businesses who are drowning in healthcare costs. They have to pay for healthcare for their employees. They have to spend time and money and personnel hours every year figuring out what's the next best, cheapest plan to put our employees on. And if we had a single payer system, they would instead be able to reinvest those resources in their businesses, hire more employees, pay better wages, grow their businesses. We would also liberate entrepreneurs who want to start their own businesses but are afraid to because leaving your job means giving up your health insurance. And with the cost of health care, who can afford that? So we need a single payer system. It is better for our economy. We also need to protect our natural resources. I know many of you are from Central New York. I hope that those of you who have never visited will come to visit. We have the Finger Lakes. We have some of the most spectacular nature in the entire country, and we have to protect that. We have a quarter of the world's fresh water in Central New York. That is a treasure that we have to protect. Our congressman has voted in lockstep with the GOP to roll back all of the environmental protections that the Obama administration put in place. John Katko voted to dump coal ash in our streams. In a place where we have a quarter of the world's fresh water, that is sacrilegious. We have to protect our resources. We have to put those protections back in place, but we have to go further. And what I'm advocating for is investing in a green economy. I think, particularly for us in Central New York, where we have a tradition and history of manufacturing, if we take advantage of those capabilities, we can be leaders in the fields of renewable energy technology and green infrastructure. And I think that's what we need to look towards for economic growth, because green tech is what's next in the economy. It represents the opportunity for long-term economic growth rather than a Band-Aid. And it brings good-paying jobs for people of all education levels. And we have to think about that when we think about economic growth, because again, it is unacceptable in the United States of America for somebody to work full-time and live in poverty. And yet we see that all over the country. We have it in our region. So we can't just think about bringing jobs. We have to bring jobs that are well-paying jobs so people can support their families. I think green tech is the way to do that. I'm also talking about criminal justice reform, because one of our most important values in this country is equal treatment under the law, and we are not living up to it. We have a lot of work to do on our criminal justice system. I've been talking about a couple of things where I think we can make progress relatively quickly. One is making sure that we're providing adequate mental health care and job training services in our prisons, so that when people come out of prison, they're ready and able to successfully reintegrate into the community. And the second thing is reforming our system of cash bail and fines and fees, because it has the unfortunate effect of criminalizing poverty. We punish people, we put people in jail for no reason other than that they cannot afford to pay the fees that we levy on them. And that is a violation of our basic notion of fairness under the law. We have to change that system. And the last thing I've been talking about is education. I think what we value more than anything else is our kids, and we owe them the best educational opportunities we can possibly provide. Right now, at the head of the Department of Education, we have a woman who does not believe in public education and is doing her level best to privatize our system. We cannot let that happen. We need to invest in high-quality schools for every single one of our kids, not just the lucky few who get to go to private schools or charter schools. My education wish list is a mile long, but the two things that I want to start with are universal pre-K for all 3- and 4-year-olds in this country. We know it is one of the most effective things we can do to level the playing field. Pre-K has long-term impact on a kid's academic success. We have to make it available at no cost to every 3- and 4-year-old in this country. And the second thing I'm talking about, which is a personal favorite of mine as I teach citizenship, is revitalizing civics education in our public schools. I think that what has happened in this country is a result of raising up generations of kids who don't understand what it means to be a citizen in a democracy. We do a really good job of teaching kids about their rights. We all know the First Amendment. But we don't do a really good job of teaching kids about the obligations that come with citizenship. And if this year has taught us anything, it is that our democracy is in fact fragile. And if we are going to maintain it as a strong and vibrant democracy, we have to nurture it. We have to teach our kids how to do that they are responsible for that, and we have to make sure that every child in this country understands that they have a voice that matters in this society, and we have to